For 3 centuries, the galaxy had known only one truth. Humanity hated war. Every ambassador repeated the same story. Every history archive described Earth as a civilization that had abandoned conquest after surviving centuries of bloodshed. Humans became builders, explorers, diplomats, the species that always offered negotiations before firing a single shot. To the rest of the galaxy, that made humans predictable. And the Galactic Dominion intended to exploit that weakness. Deep inside the shining chambers of the Galactic Council, representatives from more than 200 civilizations watched the Dominion Supreme Commander step onto the central platform. His metallic armor reflected the starlight pouring through the transparent dome. "Our fleets are already surrounding the human colonies," he declared confidently. "Their diplomats continue requesting peace talks." A wave of laughter echoed across the chamber. One alien senator smirked. "They're surrendering before the battle even begins." Another nodded. "Humans have forgotten how to fight." Only one delegate remained silent. Ambassador Celis of the ancient Vayari species stared at the holographic map with growing concern. She had spent 15 years studying humanity. She knew something everyone else ignored. Humans never begged. If they insisted on peace, they were buying time. Thousands of light-years away, Earth looked peaceful. Blue oceans shimmered beneath white clouds. Cities glowed like jewels across the continents. Children played in parks. Cargo ships floated peacefully through orbit. Everything appeared perfectly normal. Exactly as humanity wanted. Hidden beneath the Pacific Ocean, massive armored doors opened for the first time in 72 years. An underground dock the size of a continent awakened. Red warning lights illuminated endless rows of warships. Not dozens. Not hundreds. Thousands. Machines older than most civilizations slowly powered on. Artificial suns ignited inside gigantic fusion cores. Ancient defense AIs awakened from centuries of silence. One by one, their eyes lit crimson. Deep inside the command center, an elderly admiral entered alone. His name was Admiral Nathan Cross, the last commander authorized to activate Protocol Inferno. He placed his hand against an ancient scanner. Identity confirmed. A calm artificial voice echoed through the chamber. "Welcome back, Admiral. It has been 72 years since your last visit." Nathan looked across the enormous control room. Dust-covered consoles that had once directed humanity's greatest military. He whispered quietly, "I hoped I'd never return." The AI answered immediately. "So did humanity. But the enemy has crossed the final line." A hologram appeared. Every human colony under Dominion blockade flashed red. Civilian evacuation estimates. Enemy fleet strength. Projected casualties. Over 4 billion lives at risk. Nathan closed his eyes. Then he gave the order history would never forget. "Begin Protocol Inferno." For 2 full seconds, nothing happened. The entire planet shook. Across Earth's oceans, gigantic structures began rising from beneath the water. At first fishermen believed earthquakes had struck. Then mountains emerged. Except they weren't mountains. They were warships. Each one stretched dozens of kilometers long. Black armor absorbed sunlight. Thousands of hidden weapon ports slowly opened. Orbital elevators transformed into gigantic rail cannons. Civilian satellites instantly changed into military targeting systems. Every communication network on Earth switched frequencies. Across the world, millions of retired soldiers received identical messages. "Report to your designated command center." No explanations. No panic. No hesitation. Within minutes, entire cities moved with astonishing precision. Factories stopped producing consumer goods. They began manufacturing ammunition. Hospitals activated emergency wartime protocols. Universities converted research laboratories into strategic command centers. Even school buses transformed into evacuation vehicles. Everything happened according to plans written centuries earlier. Plans no alien civilization knew existed. Meanwhile, inside the Galactic Council, Dominion commanders celebrated before the invasion had even begun. Reports claimed human diplomats were still requesting emergency negotiations. The Supreme Commander smiled proudly. They finally understand resistance is pointless. Suddenly, every holographic display inside the council chamber flickered. Communications officers looked confused. We're receiving a transmission from Earth. The commander laughed. Put it on. I would like to hear humanity surrender. The room fell silent. The screen turned black. A single human appeared. No military uniform. No medals. Just an elderly woman standing before a dark background. She looked directly into every leader's eyes. Her voice was calm, cold, unshakable. You asked for peace. We accepted. You prepared for war. So did we. She paused, then delivered one sentence that froze the entire Galactic Council. The difference is that you believed peace made us weak. You are about to discover why humanity fears war more than anyone else. Silence gripped the Galactic Council chamber. No one spoke. The elderly human woman's transmission ended without another word, leaving only the reflection of frightened faces on the dark holographic screen. Then the Dominion Supreme Commander burst into laughter. An old woman threatens the greatest military alliance in galactic history? Several council members joined him. Humans have always relied on speeches. They're bluffing. They're trying to frighten us. Only Ambassador Celis remained motionless. She remembered a sentence hidden deep inside ancient human military archives. The quieter humanity becomes, the louder history is about to get. Her pulse quickened. They're not bluffing, she whispered. But nobody listened. At that very moment, across the Dominion frontier, more than 6,000 warships waited outside the human colonies. Their commanders expected frightened civilians. Emergency surrender broadcasts. White flags. Instead, every human communication channel went completely silent. No distress calls. No diplomatic requests. No negotiations. Only silence. Commander Varric frowned. Where are their diplomats? His communications officer shook his head. Nothing, sir. Every human frequency has disappeared. Before Varric could respond, every sensor aboard the flagship erupted with alarms. Unknown energy spike detected. Source. The officer's face turned pale. Everywhere. Thousands of light-years away. Hidden inside forgotten asteroid belts. Massive planets. Dead moons. Entire stars. Ancient structures awakened. Gigantic rings rotated after centuries of darkness. Invisible shipyards emerged from camouflage fields. Factories larger than cities began producing weapons faster than machines could count. Automated drones flooded into space like swarms of metal insects. Humanity hadn't built a military. Humanity had hidden one. For hundreds of years. Every peaceful trade station secretly manufactured armor beneath its foundations. Every mining colony concealed missile silos. Every scientific observatory doubled as a deep space targeting array. Every cargo fleet possessed classified transformation protocols. Civilian vessels split apart. Heavy armor unfolded. Weapon batteries emerged from beneath polished hulls. Freighters became destroyers. Medical ships became electronic warfare platforms. Construction barges transformed into siege carriers. Humanity's economy itself had become a weapon. Deep beneath Earth's Pacific Command, Admiral Nathan Cross watched the activation reports arrive one after another. Protocol Inferno, 14% complete. Orbital Defense Grid, online. Reserve Fleet Alpha, active. Deep Vault Arsenal, unsealed. An officer approached carefully. Sir, the Dominion fleet outnumbers us nearly 12-1. Nathan smiled. Only if they count ships. The officer looked confused. Nathan expanded the tactical map. Thousands of green icons appeared. Then tens of thousands. Then hundreds of thousands. The display zoomed outward again. Millions. Autonomous drones. Defense satellites. Stealth corvettes. Orbital mines. AI-controlled interceptors. Weapons that had slept for generations. The officer stared in disbelief. We've been hiding all of this? Nathan nodded. We weren't hiding from the Dominion. We were hiding from ourselves. Meanwhile, Commander Varric's fleet entered the first human colony. The colony looked abandoned. Factories stood silent. Spaceports were empty. Lights still glowed inside homes. Dinner remained on tables. Children's toys floated through zero gravity. It was as though millions of people had vanished in seconds. His officers exchanged uneasy glances. Scans show no life signs. Impossible. A quiet voice echoed across every Dominion vessel. It wasn't transmitted through radio. It appeared directly inside every communication system. Civilian evacuation complete. Combat authorization granted. Before anyone could react, the empty colony exploded. Not from bombs. The colony itself transformed. Buildings folded inward. Roads split apart. Power stations unfolded into gigantic plasma cannons. Space elevators detached and accelerated into orbit. The moon behind the colony cracked open. An enormous cannon emerged from its core. Its barrel pointed directly at the Dominion Armada. Varric shouted, "Retreat!" Too late. A beam brighter than a newborn star tore across space. The first 50 Dominion battleships simply disappeared. No explosion. No debris. Nothing. The beam erased them from existence. Shockwaves rippled through the fleet. Every surviving captain froze. One weapon had annihilated an entire attack formation. Back inside the Galactic Council, emergency alarms screamed. Fleet reports flooded every screen. First invasion fleet destroyed. Colony Gamma defended. Unknown human superweapon detected. Council members stood in horror. That's impossible. They were supposed to be defenseless. Ambassador Celis closed her eyes. You never studied humanity. You only studied the version they allowed you to see. The Supreme Commander slammed his fist onto the table. Launch the second and third fleets. We will overwhelm them. At that exact second, a new transmission interrupted every military channel in the galaxy. This time, it came from Admiral Nathan Cross himself. His expression showed neither anger nor hatred, only disappointment. You believed our peace was surrender. It was restraint. He leaned forward. And now, for the first time in 300 years, humanity has stopped holding back. Far beyond the edge of known space, thousands of colossal human warships emerged from hyperspace. Then tens of thousands more. Then an endless horizon of steel and blue engine fire. The galaxy had expected negotiations. Instead, it was watching the largest human fleet ever assembled. The stars themselves seemed to disappear. Not because space had grown dark, but because an endless wall of human warships now filled the void. From the bridge of the Dominion flagship, Commander Varric could barely breathe as new contacts continued appearing across his tactical display. 10,000 ships detected. The sensor officer swallowed. Correction. 30,000. Another alarm interrupted him. Correction. 70,000. The bridge fell silent. No empire in galactic history had ever assembled a fleet of that size. Then the final estimate appeared. Contact count exceeds sensor limits. For the first time in his military career, Commander Varric felt genuine fear. Back on Earth, Admiral Nathan Cross watched the deployment unfold from Pacific Command. Around him, officers worked with calm precision. No cheering. No celebration. Every person in the room understood the terrible cost of what was happening. A young lieutenant approached the admiral. "Sir, all reserve fleets have reported combat readiness." Nathan nodded. "And civilian casualties?" The lieutenant smiled for the first time that day. Less than 100 across every colony. The room relaxed slightly. That had always been humanity's first objective. Not victory. Protection. Nathan looked toward the holographic map. Then we keep our promise. Every civilian comes home. Across Dominion space, panic spread faster than light. News stations that had mocked humanity only hours earlier suddenly changed their broadcasts. Images of burning fleets filled every screen. Civilian worlds watched Dominion battleships retreat for the first time in centuries. Merchants abandoned trade routes. Banks froze interstellar markets. Insurance companies declared the largest financial emergency in galactic history. Entire governments began preparing evacuation plans. One question echoed across every civilization. Where did all these human warships come from? The answer lay hidden beneath the frozen surface of Pluto. Far below layers of ancient ice. An enormous vault stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Inside rested the greatest secret humanity had ever kept. General Elena Reyes entered the chamber as colossal machines awakened around her. Rows upon rows of towering armored soldiers stood motionless. Not robots. Not drones. Exotitans. Each one piloted by a highly trained human operator. Their armor could withstand direct plasma bombardment. Their rail cannons could punch through battleship hulls. Their shields adapted after every enemy strike. For 200 years, they had never been activated. Today, that changed. A deep mechanical voice echoed through the chamber. Titan legions online. Awaiting deployment. General Reyes smiled grimly. Then let's remind the galaxy why humanity retired these monsters. Thousands of exotitans marched toward launch platforms. Massive magnetic catapults hurled them into orbit, where assault carriers caught them before jumping into hyperspace. Meanwhile, the Dominion Supreme Commander refused to accept reality. Inside the Council War Room, he slammed his fist onto the command table. Commit the Imperial Reserve. One of his advisors hesitated. Sir, that's every remaining fleet. Do it. Within minutes, over 100,000 Dominion warships accelerated toward the human frontier. It was the largest military mobilization ever recorded. The commander smiled. They may have surprised us once. They cannot defeat the full strength of the Dominion. Ambassador Celis slowly shook her head. You still don't understand. The commander glared at her. What don't I understand? Celis answered quietly. You're still counting ships. Several hours later, the two armadas met in deep space. Billions of lives depended on what happened next. Dominion cannons fired first. The darkness erupted into rivers of plasma. Missiles streaked across the stars like meteor showers. The attack should have destroyed everything in its path. Instead, the human fleet never moved. Every projectile stopped. Frozen in space. The Dominion crews stared in disbelief. What happened? A calm human voice echoed across every battlefield. Localized gravity manipulation activated. One by one, the suspended missiles turned around, then accelerated back toward the Dominion formation. Entire battle lines vanished beneath their own weapons. Explosions stretched across millions of kilometers. Confusion became terror. Then humanity counterattacked. Not with rage. With precision. Every shot had a purpose. Human rail cannons disabled engines instead of vaporizing ships. EMP pulses shut down weapon systems. Electronic warfare blinded enemy sensors. Boarding teams rescued prisoners trapped inside damaged vessels. Even in the middle of the largest battle in history, humanity refused to become butchers. Commander Varric watched one of his crippled cruisers drift helplessly. He expected the humans to finish it. Instead, a human battleship moved alongside. Repair drones launched from its hull. Within minutes, the damaged Dominion ship had enough power to evacuate its wounded crew. Varric stared in disbelief. They're helping us? His communications officer nodded silently. A message arrived from the human flagship. Our war is against those who chose aggression, not those forced to fight it. For the first time, Commander Varric questioned everything he had been taught about humanity. And far beyond the battlefield, hidden in the darkness between galaxies, ancient observers watched the conflict unfold. One of them spoke after thousands of years of silence. So, the humans have finally awakened. Another answered in a low, uneasy voice. Then the seal has been broken. Across the chamber, colossal star maps lit up one by one. Something far older than the Dominion, far more dangerous, had noticed humanity's return. The battle against the Dominion had barely begun. Yet something far beyond the borders of the known galaxy had already awakened. Deep within the empty darkness between galaxies, colossal structures drifted in absolute silence. They were so immense that entire moons orbited their metallic hulls. For nearly 1,000,000 years, they had remained dormant, watching, waiting. Now, ancient crimson lights flickered back to life. A mechanical voice echoed through the endless halls. Species identified, humanity. Threat classification updated. Level Omega. One of the ancient beings slowly opened its glowing eyes. They have broken the final seal. Another looked toward the Milky Way. The younger civilizations believe they are witnessing a war. They have no idea. This is only the beginning. Meanwhile, the Dominion's grand offensive had become a disaster. Every battle report arriving at High Command carried the same conclusion. Fleet destroyed. Fleet captured. Fleet retreating. The Supreme Commander stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Nearly 40% of his military had vanished in less than 48 hours. Impossible! No civilization wins battles this quickly. An exhausted intelligence officer stepped forward. Sir, we finally understand why. He activated dozens of classified files. The room filled with images recovered from ancient alien ruins. Each one showed the same symbol. A blue Earth surrounded by stars. This emblem appears in civilizations that disappeared over 200,000 years ago. The commander frowned. What does that have to do with humanity? The officer hesitated. According to the oldest surviving records, humans didn't inherit advanced technology. They built it. The room fell silent. Everything we've called ancient alien technology was originally human. Back aboard Earth's flagship Resolute, Admiral Nathan Cross studied the reports. Victory after victory appeared across the screen. But his expression never changed. General Elena Reyes entered the bridge. The Dominion is collapsing. Nathan nodded. I know. She looked surprised. Then why aren't we celebrating? The Admiral walked toward the observation window, staring into the sea of stars. Because this war was never our greatest fear. He opened an encrypted file that only 3 people in the entire Human Defense Command could access. Across the screen appeared a single title. Project Sentinel. General Reyes felt her stomach tighten. I thought those records were destroyed. So did everyone else. Nathan entered his authorization code. The file unlocked. An image appeared. Not of a ship. Not of a weapon. But of an enormous circular gateway floating in deep space. Its diameter measured almost the width of a planet. Below the image was one sentence. Do not reactivate under any circumstances. General Reyes whispered. What is it? Nathan answered quietly. Our ancestors built it. They also sacrificed everything to keep it closed. Suddenly, every alarm aboard the Resolute erupted. Unknown energy surge detected. Location. The sensor officer's face turned white. Beyond the galactic rim. Another officer interrupted. Energy output exceeds every known star combined. Silence swept across the bridge. Even Admiral Cross looked concerned. It can't be. At that same moment, the Dominion fleet stopped firing. Human ships also held their positions. Across both armadas, every sensor began displaying the same impossible reading. Space itself was tearing apart. A brilliant golden crack stretched across the darkness, growing larger every second. Stars bent around it. Gravity fluctuated wildly. The crack exploded open. An object slowly emerged. It wasn't merely a ship. It was a moving world. Its hull stretched for thousands of kilometers, covered in glowing geometric patterns unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Entire fleets looked microscopic beside it. Commander Varric whispered, By the stars. The Dominion Supreme Commander could only stare. What, have we awakened? A transmission echoed across every military channel in the galaxy. The voice was ancient, cold, completely emotionless. Human civilization confirmed. Containment failure detected. Resuming extermination protocol. Every translation system failed to identify the language. Yet somehow, everyone understood every word. Panic spread instantly. For the first time in history, human officers looked genuinely alarmed. General Reyes turned toward Admiral Cross. "You were right. They're back." Nathan slowly closed his eyes. "I prayed humanity would never have to fight this war again." He looked around the bridge. "Signal every fleet." The communications officer nodded. "What message, sir?" Nathan's voice was calm, but every person on the bridge felt its weight. "Tell the Dominion, we're declaring an immediate ceasefire." The officer blinked in shock. "Sir?" Nathan looked toward the impossible vessel emerging from the rift. "They're no longer the enemy. They're about to become our allies, if they choose to survive." As the colossal ancient fleet continued entering the galaxy, every human warship shifted formation. Not to attack the Dominion, but to form a massive defensive wall between the mysterious invaders and the rest of the galaxy. The Dominion commanders watched in stunned silence. The species they had invaded was now preparing to defend them. Silence spread across the battlefield. For the first time since the war had begun, no weapons fired. Millions of Dominion soldiers stared in disbelief as the human fleet moved into a colossal defensive formation, not against them, but against the unimaginable armada emerging from the rift. Commander Varric slowly lowered his head. "We invaded them, and they're still protecting us." No one on his bridge had an answer. The ancient fleet continued to emerge. One world-sized vessel became 10. 10 became 50. Soon, hundreds of colossal ships floated beyond the galactic rim, each radiating enough energy to eclipse entire star systems. Their arrival alone caused planets to tremble. Stars flickered. Hyperspace lanes collapsed. Every civilization in the galaxy watched the same live broadcast. For the first time in recorded history, the galaxy was united by fear. Then, the lead vessel transmitted another message. "Human civilization has violated the Eternal Treaty. The quarantine has ended. Biological expansion will be terminated." A cold silence followed. Then Admiral Nathan Cross stepped onto the command deck of the Resolute and opened a galaxy-wide communication channel. His voice reached every soldier, every civilian, and every leader. "We know who they are. Our ancestors called them the Harbingers. 1,000,000 years ago, they erased thousands of civilizations. They believed intelligent life always ends in endless war. So they decided the simplest solution was extinction." He paused. "Our ancestors stopped them. But victory came with a price. They sealed the Harbingers outside the galaxy and erased almost every record of the conflict so no one would ever open the gate again." Nathan looked directly into the camera. "Today, that responsibility belongs to us." Inside the Galactic Council, the Dominion Supreme Commander slowly stood. Everything he believed had been shattered. He turned toward Ambassador Celis. "I was wrong." She nodded. "Yes." He took a deep breath before opening every Dominion military frequency. "This is Supreme Command. Effective immediately. All Dominion forces are placed under temporary unified command with the Human Defense Fleet." Gasps filled the council chamber. No empire had ever surrendered command of its military. But this wasn't surrender. It was survival. Across thousands of warships, Dominion captains acknowledged the order. Human and Dominion fleets merged into a single formation. Old enemies became allies within minutes. The Harbingers attacked. Without warning. Without emotion. A single beam of white light erupted from the lead vessel. An entire uninhabited star system vanished. Not destroyed. Erased. Its planets, the sun, even the surrounding asteroid fields disappeared as if they had never existed. Shockwaves raced across the galaxy. Commander Varric whispered, "Nothing can survive that." Admiral Cross answered calmly, "One thing can. Humanity. Activate Aegis." The order echoed through every human fleet. At once, thousands of hidden satellites emerged from deep space. Ancient defense stations awakened around distant stars. Gigantic rings, concealed for centuries inside nebulae and black hole systems, aligned with mathematical precision. Lines of blue energy connected them across the galaxy. Together they formed a single defensive network. The Aegis grid. The Harbingers fired again. This time, the beam struck the glowing barrier. For one terrifying moment, the shield bent inward. Then it held. The impossible attack had been stopped. Cheers erupted across every Allied fleet. For the first time, the Harbingers hesitated. Admiral Cross smiled faintly. "They've just realized something." General Elena Reyes looked at him. "What?" "They thought humanity spent 300 years preparing for another war with the Dominion." He shook his head. "We were preparing for them." Across the galaxy, hidden shipyards opened one final time. The last reserve fleet emerged. These ships were unlike anything anyone had ever seen. They carried no massive cannons, no missile launchers, only enormous rings surrounding their hulls. Project Phoenix had awakened. Thousands of synchronized pulses surged through the rings. A wave of brilliant blue light swept across the battlefield. The Harbinger ships began to slow. Their weapons shut down. Their shields flickered. One after another, their colossal engines went dark. The ancient fleet drifted silently through space. Neutralized, not destroyed. Humanity had learned long ago that lasting peace was not won through annihilation, but by ending the ability to wage war. Hours later, the surviving Harbinger commander transmitted one final message. For the first time, its voice carried emotion. "Respect. Humanity. You have proven our judgment wrong. This galaxy deserves to exist." The massive fleet turned away from the Milky Way. One by one, the ancient ships disappeared back through the dimensional rift. As the gateway slowly closed, billions across the galaxy celebrated. The war was over. Weeks later, the Galactic Council gathered once more. This time, no one laughed when humans entered the chamber. The Dominion Supreme Commander walked to Admiral Nathan Cross and extended his hand. "We came seeking your surrender. Instead, you saved every civilization." Nathan accepted the handshake. "We didn't fight because we love war. We fought because peace is worth protecting." The Council voted unanimously to establish a new era of cooperation, with humanity leading a united galactic defense alliance dedicated to ensuring that no civilization would ever stand alone against another existential threat. And from that day forward, every child in the galaxy learned the same lesson. The greatest warriors are not those who seek battle. They are the ones willing to carry its burdens so that everyone else can live in peace.